Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Jeremy. I'm a college professor and a professional screenwriter. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Deckset so that you never have to touch Microsoft PowerPoint again. You know Microsoft PowerPoint, it's clumsy, it's ugly, and the results look like if you had asked a 13-year-old kid off Fiverr.com to make your slides for you. Using Deckset can easily save you a whole afternoon's worth of work. Alright, let's get stuck into it. Roll the intro. The basic idea is that Deckset lets you write all of your slides in a plain text document. I'm using a text editor here on the right. You can use Notepad or you could even use your phone. This is Deckset on the left, and that's going to take the text that we input from the right and turn it into a presentation. So instead of doing what we'd have to do in Microsoft PowerPoint, that's where you have to click into a title, type your title, click into the body, then type your dot points, and it really just breaks up the flow of your thoughts. With Deckset, you can just think more naturally. You can start by brainstorming and just make a list of the points that you want to talk about. After you've brainstormed, the next step is how do you turn this outline into the start of a presentation? The format that we're actually using with this plain text is called Markdown. If you haven't used Markdown before, you can just Google Markdown. You'll learn it in under 2 minutes. It's basically mimicking the way that we type in email. In Markdown, you create headings with a hashtag. So I'll just do that here. A hashtag, 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 and then save it. And then you can see that the presentation's starting to take shape. Next, you'd want to add some images, so you can Google any image you want. I Googled some flying birds. I don't know why flying birds. I think it's because once I saw a guy speak. He was really deep and he had a picture of some flying birds, and it struck me as maybe this is what deep people do. So from Google and this picture of flying birds, if you drag that into Deckset, it then says drop your files here to create the Markdown. And then we just paste it wherever we want. I want it as the title page, like the deep guy, and then save. And then we can see this is what our title page will look like. If you use math and need a lot of equations, Deckset supports LaTeX, and there's lots of visual themes that you can choose from in Deckset depending on how you want your slides to look. But the coolest thing about Deckset isn't some technical point about using Markdown or about these great aesthetics of Deckset. The coolest thing is that it actually makes it easier for you to just carry around your presentation slides in your pocket on your phone. Just the mere act of carrying around your slide deck for a couple of days while you're walking around doing your business makes the content of your presentation more compelling and richer. The writer Chuck Palahniuk, you might know him from books like Fight Club, Invisible Monsters, Survivor. I'm not a big fan of his books, but his writing advice is beautiful stuff. Chuck Palahniuk's writing advice is after you've completed a manuscript, maybe a short story or a chapter, print it out and then carry it with you everywhere you go. Then when you're going about your day, all of a sudden you'll think, oh, here's an interesting thing, or you'll observe something, a nice bit of dialogue, or just something relevant. That's when you pull out your manuscript and then you just rewrite your story, putting in the good, interesting bits. And that's what you'll really find with Deckset. Give it some time, you give it a little bit of air, you walk around, you go about your day, but your slides are right there in your pocket and they're so easy to edit on your phone. Finally, I'll share with you something that I saw an award-winning professor do. If you internalize it, as I'm trying to, it just makes your talks and your presentations that much more captivating. This was when I was going through the application process for a National Teaching Award. And so part of that involves going and seeing the person who's currently winning the award. He came out and he gave a talk, and I was expecting someone really charismatic, probably with a good sense of humor. This professor, great guy, really changed the way I think about things, but he was very, very low energy. In fact, he looked like he could barely keep his eyes open. And here's the thing, if I were picturing myself winning an award, or if, someone put a microphone in front of me, I would say, oh, first of all, you've got to have people engaged more. You've got to let people do things rather than just having them listen to you. I would go on and on. Instead, this professor, well, thank you for coming to hear about my teaching award. I know the reason you're here is because you're probably applying for a teaching award yourself. Why don't I tell you about the journey and the things that would have made it easier for me to get through the application process? So obviously, he understood what we in the audience wanted. He didn't tell us all about the stuff that he wanted to talk about. He gave us what we were looking for, and that just changed everything. Now, before a class, before a presentation, if I just think, if I were that guy and thought, not what do I want to talk about, what do the people in the classroom want to hear about? Changing that focus just means everything gets easier. You do less work, and you make things more relevant. So anyway, I hope that I've applied this. I hope that you at home thinking, oh, you know what? I really wish that I could just make my slides look better or my presentations better, and that this lands. If it didn't land, I don't know why you're still watching. I don't know, I'm not complaining, but you know, you've probably just left this running and you were going to make a cup of coffee or something like that. Sometimes my cat, well, not my cat, my partner.